What's up, everyone? We are in Orlando,
Yeah.
Florida for a trip, business trip per se.
Yeah.
And I told Rebecca it's going to be a busy week. We're going to get started with some activities here in a little bit, and we won't be nonstop till Sunday morning. But I wanted to hit on something real quick. As most of you know, me and my son, we go to school. Well, I take him to school.
We don't go to school together.
I take him to school pretty much every morning,
Right.
Monday through Friday. And we usually take advantage of that time to have some one-on-one time and have devotion time. And our devotion a couple days ago was missing out on quote-unquote fun. And how sometimes we have this mentality, or we perceive things that, we have this perception of things that we're missing out on things, and we're missing out on fun. And how sometimes Christianity can be seen as, being a Christian could be seen as not having fun in general.
When you refrain from certain things, could look like we're trying to miss out on fun.
Yeah, because obviously there are some things that we just don't need to participate. There's some things that we don't need to be involved in.
Right.
And it seems like it's fun on the outside, but really, it could be something that really shapes
The course of your life.
the course of your life.
Yeah.
So he read the devotion, and what we usually do is we just have a, time of discussion. And I just asked him straight up. This is how I approached the conversation. I was like, Zane, I said, I'm going to ask you something, and I don't want you to be afraid to be open with me.
Right.
I want you to just to be really honest with me. And I said, do you feel like you're missing out on some things? And he said, yes. And I said, once again, Zane, I want you to be open with me. I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be angry.
Right.
I said, what are some of those things that you feel like you're missing out on? And he began to tell me a couple things. And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's break it down. Why do you think you need to avoid those things? Why you need to refrain from those things? So I started asking him questions, and then it came down to me saying, look, there are reasons why we ask you to avoid those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because for that time period, it may seem like you're having a blast, you're having a good time, but you got to think about after the fact.
Right.
I said, Zane, you're at the age where you're thinking about the now, and you're not thinking about tomorrow.
Right.
And as you get older, you can't think about just now. You got to think about tomorrow, what kind of effect that will have in your life and just you in just everyday life.
Right. And the big thing is that's our job as parents. We're here to shape and guide them, and not here to, let's just follow the crowd. But we got to help guide them to the right things to do and what not to do, because we can see the bigger picture.
And I think sometimes as parents, let's be realistic here, let's be honest. Sometimes we don't want our kids to miss out.
Right.
We want our kids to experience things.
Right.
We want our kids to participate in things. We don't want our kids to be made fun of.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have a responsibility not just to protect them, but also to explain to them why we don't participate in certain things, why we don't do certain things, why we don't say certain things, why we don't go certain places.
Right.
And I think if we fall under the category that we don't want our kids to miss out, so we just let them do what they want to do, we become more of a friend and not the role model, not the parent that we're called to be.
And I believe that, as we begin to discuss these things and you walking him through that, you're also training him how to renew his mind and how to avoid certain areas in his life, and to be on guard, because the Bible tells us to be alert, to always, be aware that there are snares and things that we can get easily entangled within. And it could be just so innocent, but what could it lead to long term? And so I believe that it's our job as parents. We've walked those roads before, and we know what can lead to a negative thing in our lives, and could be dig ourselves into a hole that is so hard to come out of.
And I was just real transparent. Some of you may disagree with this, but I told my son Zane, I said, I had sex before marriage. This is the kind of conversation we're having to school on this day. And I said, Zane, I drank a couple times. And I said, it's not what it's all cut out to be.
Yeah.
It's just the aftermath. At that moment, it seemed like a good time and it was fun. But after the fact, it wasn't worth it. And I think there's a couple things that we can learn from this. First of all, I think, we need to be at the place where we hold our kids more accountable that we explain to them why they don't participate in certain things, that we do our best to protect them, but not just tell them that they can't do some, but also take the time to explain it.
Right. And, him understanding it. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but it is emotional, because it wasn't with me,
Yeah.
and all those different things, and understanding that there is an aftermath. It may be 20 years down the road, but those can be life-altering situations that you're going to have to work through over the years.
Yeah, and then another thing is you have to be at the place where you could communicate with your kids, and your kids could communicate with you and feel that freedom. Because I emphasized to Zane, I said, Zane, you have to feel like you could tell me anything.
Right.
Because I don't want you to hide anything from me.
Right. Absolutely.
So I encourage you, man, take that time to just be real transparent with your kids. Explain to them. Don't just say something just for the sake of saying it, but just explain to them and help them realize that, they are missing out on some things in life, but it's more important that you protect them and you guide them.
Absolutely. And do your best to be the parents that you've been called to do.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and we'll see you soon.
Yes.